He left me the truth, and it would ruin them all. I didn't know the funeral would turn into an audition. Everyone cried the same way, same pauses, same dramatic exhales, same hugs timed for witnesses. I watched from the back because that's where you stand when you're the inconvenience. My mother's sister cried the loudest. She always does when there's something to gain. After the burial, we gathered at the house, not for comfort, for paperwork. The lawyer didn't waste time. No warm words, no legacy speech, just envelopes and silence. The house, the savings, the jewelry, all split neatly, predictably. Then the lawyer paused. There was one more letter, not addressed to the family, not to my mother, not to anyone sitting comfortably. It had my name on it. The room shifted, chairs creaked, my aunt stopped crying instantly. The lawyer read it slowly, like every word was a weight. My grandfather wrote that he'd been watching for years. Who visited? Who didn't? Who asked for help? Who asked for favors? Who lied when they thought no one noticed? He wrote that blood doesn't mean loyalty, and loyalty doesn't look like holidays and phone calls. It looks like silence when someone is cruel. It looks like staying when there's nothing to gain. Then the line that cracked the room open. He apologized to me for letting them believe a story about why I was pushed out of the family, for letting them think I was the problem. He said the truth would destroy the image they built, and he wanted it read aloud. My mother stood up. Her face wasn't grief, it was fear. The lawyer unfolded the last page, and before he could read the first sentence, my mother said my name in a voice I hadn't heard since I was a kid. Not angry, not loving, warning. The lawyer looked at me and asked if I wanted him to continue, and every eye in the room waited to see whether I would let the truth end the family or let the lie survive another generation. I told the lawyer to keep reading, not because I was brave, because I was tired. Tired of being the quiet one, the difficult one, the relative whose name lowered voices and ended conversations. The lawyer nodded once and continued. My grandfather wrote that the story they told about me was convenient, that it explained my absence without asking uncomfortable questions, that it let them stay generous, kind, respectable, without actually being any of those things. He wrote that when I was 16, I told him something no one else wanted to hear, that my mother's husband wasn't just strict, he wasn't just traditional, he wasn't just old school, he was dangerous. The room went still, no coughing, no shifting. Even the house felt like it was holding its breath. My grandfather wrote that I begged him not to tell anyone at first, that I was afraid of what would happen if I did, afraid I wouldn't be believed, afraid I would be blamed. He wrote that when he finally confronted my mother, she cried, not because she was shocked, because she already knew. My mother's chair scraped the floor as she stood again, but no one looked at her. They were all staring at me now, like the answer had been hiding in my face this whole time. The letter said my mother asked him to keep it quiet, to handle it privately, to think of the family, to think of appearances. She promised she'd protect me. She promised she'd make it stop. She didn't. Instead, I was sent away. Labeled unstable, angry, a problem that needed distance. The letter said my grandfather hated himself for agreeing. He said he told himself it was temporary. That time would soften it. That silence was safer than conflict. He wrote that silence only protected one person, and it wasn't me. I didn't realize I was crying until my jaw started shaking. Across the room, my aunt whispered, "That's not true," but it sounded rehearsed, like she'd practice saying it someday. The lawyer kept reading. My grandfather wrote that when my mother's husband died years later, the family treated him like a misunderstood man, a complicated man, a good provider. They mourned him. They never once asked why I didn't attend the funeral. He wrote that he rewrote his will after that, not out of revenge, out of responsibility. He said the money didn't matter, the house didn't matter. What mattered was that the truth existed somewhere outside of whispers and therapy rooms and my own memory. He left me everything else. Not the house, not the accounts, the truth. The lawyer finished reading and folded the letter carefully, like it was fragile. No one spoke. Then my mother laughed. It came out sharp and hollow, like a glass cracking. She said I'd always had a vivid imagination. She said trauma warps memories. She said my grandfather was old and confused at the end. She said families fall apart when people dig up things better left buried. No one backed her up. Not one person. My aunt looked at the floor. My cousins stared at their phones. The room smelled like cold coffee and lilies and something rotting underneath. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but my voice didn't. I said, I didn't come for money. I didn't come for validation. I came because I was invited to say goodbye to a man who tried to do one thing right at the very end. I said I had spent years wondering if I made it up, if I exaggerated, if I was the villain in my own story. I said this letter didn't heal anything. It just confirmed that I was never crazy. My mother told me to stop, not shouted, not begged, commanded. That was when I realized she was more afraid of the room than of me. I told her I forgave her, not because she deserved it, because I didn't want her living rent-free in the rest of my life. I told her I wouldn't expose her publicly. I wouldn't sue. I wouldn't write a book or make a post or burn the family down on my way out. I said she'd already done that herself. I walked to the door while no one stopped me. Outside, the air felt cleaner, colder, real. I sat in my car for a long time before turning the key. I didn't feel victorious or lighter or healed. I felt finished. Months later, the family stopped pretending I didn't exist. Not because they apologized, because the silence no longer worked. And that was enough.